This video is going to go over missing angle measurements. We're going to use diagrams with triangles and straight angles and right angles. All triangles, no matter what, when you add their three angles together, have a sum of 180 degrees. So we have four different examples of triangles. I've labeled their angles 1, 2, and 3, no matter what type or size. At the bottom, when you make a number sentence or an equation and you add angle, this symbol means angle. Angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3, no matter what, it always equals 180 degrees. So we're going to use this number sentence equation today to help solve for those missing numbers. When you have a straight angle, it always equals 180 degrees. So over here, top right is an example of one angle that measures exactly 180 degrees. Sometimes you have a combination of more than one angle, and when you put them together, they also form a straight line on the bottom, which means this angle, 7y plus 5y, I made a number sentence, equals 180 degrees. Then when you have a right angle, this little symbol of a square in a corner distinguishes it's supposed to be 90 degrees. A perfect corner is 90 degrees. Sometimes you also have multiple angles joining together to form a right angle. If I put their measurements together, I could have a number sentence that says x. If I have no number, it just means 1. So 1x plus 60 equals 90 degrees. And we're also going to use these two things to find missing numbers in angles. Our first example is a triangle. So no matter what, I know that the total of this has to be 180 degrees when I set this up. The total is 180. Now I'm going to take each angle, I'm going to list them, and then I will make my number sentence so that it equals 180 degrees. So when you're looking through here, what I see is this first angle, it says x minus 15. I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in my first box, x minus 15. When you go back to look at the rest of the triangle, I see 2x in this corner, so I know that's a number. These two little lines are telling you this is an isosceles triangle, so this angle and this angle are equal or congruent to each other. So actually, both of these are supposed to be 2x, and that's because it has these markings that tell me they're equal. So I'm going to put 2x in each one of these separate spots. Now, some of you might want to go ahead and add these together in your head, which is okay. I am going to do a thing called circle and box. Terms that are alike, I'm going to circle them. I'm going to stack them and combine them together. So what I did was I took the x from the first angle, 2x from the second angle, and 2x from the third angle. I'm going to add those up, and that's 5x. So now my equation is going to say 5x, then I'm going to have whatever's left equals 180. The part that still is out there for me that I'm going to box is just a regular number, minus 15. I don't see any other regular numbers, so I don't need to combine it with anything. I'll put minus 15. Now I'm going to solve the question, just like a regular equation that you might have solved before. Instead of minusing 15, I'm going to add 15. 180 plus 15 is 195. I'm going to bring down my 5x. Then the last step, 5 times something is 195. If you know what this is, awesome. If not, your last step is divide. So 5 divided into 195 is 39. I would now just say that the value of x is 39, not 39 degrees, but just 39. That would be your answer. Example 2, when we look at this diagram, this line continuing down towards the right makes a straight line. So I have these two angles right here that are forming together to make one straight line for me. A straight line is supposed to be 180 degrees. If you said that yourself, straight line equals 180 degrees. Now that's only a combination of two angles, so I'm going to leave a spot to fill in two pieces of information and then say that equals 180. My first angle that I'm going to use is the 3x plus 17. I'm going to put it in my first little holder. The second angle I'm going to use says x minus 9. Then I'm going to go back to that circle and box method that I used before, or you can put these together yourself in your head. I'm going to circle the things that are alike, my x's. I had 3. Then just x by itself means 1x. When you add those, you get 4. So my equation now is going to say 4x. Then I'm going to box positive 17 minus 9. So 17 minus 9. That is 8. So my equation says 4x plus 8 equals 180 degrees. Now I'm going to solve just like I would a normal equation. So I'm going to separate the sides. Instead of adding 8, I'm going to subtract 8. 180 minus 8 makes 172. Bring down my 4x. 4 times something, if you know what it is, awesome. 4 times something is 172, but if you don't, your last step is divide. 4 divided into 172 is 43. So I would come up here on my answer line and say the value of x is 43. And that would be my final answer. Okay, example 3. This is a right angle. All right angles are supposed to add up to be 90 degrees. Okay, my combination of angles, I have this one, and then I have this one. I'm going to set up my equation by leaving 2 spots to fill in. And this time, instead of saying 180, we have a right angle. So I have to put 90 degrees at the end. They are not always 180. I'm going to come back and I'm going to fill in these numbers. The first angle I'm going to fill in is 2x plus 1. The second angle I'm going to fill in just says 33. So if I did the circle and box method, I don't have any more terms that have an x on them. So my equation starts out with 2x. If I box the other numbers that are alike, there's 1 plus 33, so I'm not really going to stack those. I'm just going to combine them in my head and say those are 34. And the whole thing, remember, this is a right angle, so it's 90 degrees. Then I'm going to separate the sides and solve like normal. Instead of adding 34, I'm going to subtract 34. 90 minus 34 is 56. I'm going to bring down my 2x. 2 times something, if you know what it is, wonderful, is 56. But if not, your last step is divide. 2 divided into 56 is 28. So I would come back up here and say the value of x is 28 for my final answer. So this one I'm putting up here just to help you set it up. I'm going to zoom in just a tad right here. This is a triangle, so for sure it's going to be 180 degrees because all triangles, no matter their size, they are 180. I'm going to set up those 3 little parentheses so I can start filling those in. And at the end, I'm going to say equals 180 because this is a triangle. Now, when I start looking at the triangle and picking out the information, 3x plus 11, that goes right here. So I'm going to put that in my first box. Then the next one I see says 25, and that goes right here. But I don't see another number. So you have to look real careful. This spot right here, that is a right angle symbol. So it is telling you, without writing the numbers, that you should be using a number 90. And then you would just go through and set up your equation just like we did with the last few examples. Okay, here is another one that's a little bit different. These two angles are not touching each other. These are opposite sides. These are called vertical angles. And vertical angles are actually congruent to each other. So instead of me saying they equal a certain amount, what I'm going to say is they need an equal sign in between. So I'm going to take this first one, and I'm going to say 5x plus 12. Vertical angles are supposed to be equal to each other, so I'm going to put an equal sign. And then the second, or bottom angle, says 6x minus 10. Now to solve this one, you're going to have to move your x's all to one side. It doesn't matter if you do it to the left side or the right side. I'm going to move x's to the left side. So I'm going to positive x moves. It turns negative x. 5x minus 6x is negative 1x. Then I bring down my 12. And I bring down my negative 10. Then I need to move this positive 12 to the opposite side, so it turns to negative 12. I'm going to bring down my negative 1x and say it equals negative 10 and negative 12. These are both negative, so you should be adding those two numbers together. That's negative 22. Then the final step for this one would be divide. I'm kind of running out of space because I wrote super big, but I would do negative 1 divided into negative 22. And two negatives, when they divide together, remember I've used this symbol before, so I would have negative 1 here, negative 22 here, so my leftover would be positive. My answer would be positive 22. I would come over here and say the value of x is 22 for my final answer.